They will break the hatch, decide to come out, and walk in prime time, so to speak. It's very good. By the way, Jules, you talked about them eating. While Peter Jennings was giving the news, we had AOS here. You know what AOS is?
No, Frank. What is AOS?
Acquisition of steak.
Very good. Very good. You want to bet on that, too?
Food was delivered here.
Very good.
Magnificent sight out here. Magnificent desolation.
You've found Channel 5, the home of quality, commercial-free television. Thanks for watching your public TV station, WUFT-TV Gainesville, a service of the University of Florida.
Set foot upon the moon.
Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin have been on the moon for 4 hours and 30 seconds, 4 hours and 30 minutes, I'm sorry. It's been a long day here, too. As Jules said, at EVA, that walk out on the moon probably will begin about 45 minutes or so from now, and about 50 minutes after Armstrong steps out, when both Armstrong and Aldrin are on the lunar surface and have planted the American flag. That's when we expect to have the telephone call, the conversation, really between President Nixon in the White House and the men, the two Americans, on the moon. Man, of course, explored space and even landed on the moon long before Apollo 11. There's nothing new about this. At least as far as Hollywood is concerned, there's nothing new about it. We found a long line of space films, some of them in retrospect ridiculous, and some surprisingly accurate, and most quite prophetic. Here is Richard Schickel, the film critic for Life magazine and a student of those exciting space films, with ABC's Peter Jennings.
There was I guess the first serious or semi-serious picture to be made was by the Frenchman Méliès in 1902. Was it really designed to have a serious view of the moon?
No, I don't think so. I think he designed it as a satire on a story of H.G. Wells, which was very popular in those days.
Published a year earlier.
Published a year earlier. And Méliès was a kind of great man. He's really the first genius of the movies. He invented things like the fade out and the dissolve. But the most important thing about him was he was the first man to realize that you could arrange scenes to tell a story. Before that, we just had kind of postcard views in movies. So he was the first storyteller in the movies.
Here then is the first story tale, or the first fairy tale at least, of a man going to the moon. 1902 this is.
That's the first meeting of NASA, I think.
Or the debate about what flag will be planted on the moon. Young ladies, incidentally, are from the Folies Bergère.
Yes, and I think they're a very nice feature for liftoffs.
Here the concept was, of course, firing the rocket out of a cannon. And people considerably closer to the launch pad than anything else.
That's right. You'll see it's a very good, accurate launch. Now, this is something he really did take from Wells, which is the notion that moon people lived in caves. They thought that possibly the craters, which they saw through the telescopes, were the entrances to vast caves, and that maybe there was a civilization down there, underground.
These were the moon people, of course.
Right, he's actually an acrobat from the Folies Bergère, entertaining the tourists.
The moon at that time basically always, didn't it, have an image of people living on it?
Yes, I think it did. And not very friendly ones either.
That's a technique I never expected to see in
Oh, this is
1902.
the thing that Miles, having been a magician, was so good at it. These effects are still marvelous, I think.
Re-entry takes a somewhat more primitive form in this film today.
Here now you're going to see history's very first splashdown.
It's amazing where NASA picks up its ideas.
Isn't it?
How that great cast iron thing descends from the moon and floats as well. And Rayleigh's version of the USS Hornet. That's funny, but strange how accurate. Now, here's a film that Dick has prepared, which shows there was some very serious thought about communicating with outer space.
Yeah,
Dick, who's this one done by?
This is about 20 years later. It's done by two people, John Bray, who was a very early animator, and Max Fleischer, who went on to do Betty Boop and Popeye and things like that. They're trying to explain moon atmosphere.
Neither Aldrin or Armstrong, of course, are going to find work on the moon a pleasure. It's going to be very tedious. But there are a couple of things here which indicate this, for example, that one of the ways to move on the moon is with a kind of kangaroo hop, though not necessarily that far. How could you be opposed to this kind of outer space idea?
And they're trying to talk about communications between the planets. And Professor Pickering, of course, really existed, and this indeed was his plan, which I think probably had some help on from Rube Goldberg.
Mechanical arrangement.
Yeah, it's a giant hinge.
Of course, that hasn't changed much either. NASA today uses language that the layman can hardly understand.
Well, that's true. I think there's something very charming about these ideas, because in those days, in the 1920s, we had to depend on mechanics rather than electronics to do a lot of the things that are easy now. And so these kind of great, goofy ideas were proposed.
Essentially, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know what makes them think that necessarily on Mars they understand Morse code, but...
The plan here was always, too, to communicate with Mars, wasn't it, rather than the moon?
Right, I think they've given up on the idea that there was anything on the moon to talk to, anyway. works.
A response which would probably scare the devil out of anybody. How do these things stack up to a film critic?
Well, as film, not much, but I think there's something kind of touching about our desire to communicate, to kind of get in harmony with the spheres, as it were. I think it's a long-standing desire of man, and so something touching about it, really.
They're fascinating. Thank you very much, Dick Schickel from Light.
It does seem appropriate that as man is about to set foot on the moon for the first time in the history of mankind, that we should honor this event and celebrate it with music. So ABC News asked a most distinguished musician to compose and perform an original piece for this occasion. He is a member of the National Council on the Arts. He holds about a dozen honorary PhDs. Last April, when he was 70 years old, President Nixon awarded the composer the Medal of Freedom at a gala White House birthday party. And here in ABC Space Headquarters is the Honorable Dr. Edward Kennedy Duke Ellington.
Thanks very much, Frank. I'm very much honored indeed to be invited here today to help celebrate this great occasion. Matter of fact, I'm so inspired that I think I shall attempt to make my debut as a vocalist with Moon Maiden. How about that? Moon Maiden, way out there in the blue. Moon Maiden, got to get with you. I made my approach and then revolved. But my big problem is still unsolved. Moon Maiden, listen here, my dear. Your vibrations are coming in loud and clear. Now, I'm just a fly-by-night guy, but for you, I might be quite the right do-right guy. Moon Maiden, Moon Maiden. Listen here, my dear. Your vibrations are coming in loud and clear. Now, I'm just a fly-by-night guy, but for you, I might be quite the right do-right guy. Moon Maiden. Moon Maiden.
I wanted to write a poem which attempts to give some of the thoughts and feelings one of the astronauts on the moon is having when he first touches the ground of the moon. These are the only men in this world, and on the moon, the only men who have ever been there, at least so far as we know. And they've brought the whole human mind and all the cycles of civilization and history, including mythology, with them. It seems a strange and wonderful thing to me that the spaceship that brought them to the moon should be named Apollo, who is also the Greek god of poetry. The poem is supposed to be spoken by one of the astronauts on the moon to the other one, whose face visor is reflecting the earth. The poem is called The Moon Ground. You look as though you know me, though the world we came from is striking you in the forehead like Apollo. Buddy, we have brought the gods. We know what it is to shine far off with earth. We alone of all men could take off our shoes and fly. 1/6 of ourselves we have gathered, both of us, under another one of us overhead. He is reading the dials. He is understanding time to save our lives. You and I are in earth light and deep moon shadow on magic ground of the dead new world. And we do not, but we could leap over each other like children in the universal playground of stones. But we must not play at being here. We must look. We must look for it. The stones are going to tell us, not the why, but the how of all things. Brother, your gold face flashes on me. It is the earth. I hear your deep voice rumbling from the body of its huge clothes. Why did we come here? It does not say, but the ground looms, and the secret of time is lying within amazing reach. It is everywhere we walk, our glass heads shimmering with absolute heat and cold. We leap slowly along it. We will take back the very stones of time and build it where we live. Or in the cloud-striped blue of home, will the secret crumble in our hands with air? Will the moon plague kill our children in their beds? The human planet trembles in its black sky with what we do. I can see it hanging in the God gold only, brother, of your faith. We are this world. We are the only men. What hope is there at home in the azure of breath, or here with the stone-dead secret? My massive clothes bubble around me, crackling with static, and Gray's elegy helplessly coming from my heart, and I say, I think something from high school. I remember now fades the glimmering landscape on the sight, and all the air a solemn stillness holds. Earth glimmers, and in its air color a solemn stillness holds it. Oh, brother, earth-faced God, Apollo, my eyes blind with unreachable tears. My breath goes all over me and cannot escape. We are here to do one thing only, and that is rock by rock to carry the moon, to take it back. Our clothes embrace. We cannot touch. We cannot kneel. We stare into the moon dust, the earth-blazing ground. We laugh with the beautiful craze of static. We bend. We pick up stones.
This is not the time to run down to your neighborhood drugstore for something that you may have forgotten, because we're getting very, very close now to the time when we will hopefully see the pictures of man stepping on the moon, Neil Armstrong. All around the world right now, all around this world, people are gathering in front of television sets, and in some places they're gathering in rather large numbers. Central Park in New York, in the Sheep Meadow, it's been renamed Moon Meadow for tonight. And despite some adverse weather, I really do not know whether it is still raining in New York. But people are out, and they're waiting to see the first man step on the moon. They've been invited by the mayor, and this you might say is one night that it's all right to walk through Central Park. Originally, the idea was to wear white. I've never quite been sure why that was the preferred mode of dress. But they all seem to be having a rather good time, don't they?
Just the story moon madness.
With TV,
Let's go to Houston now. They're in conversation with the astronauts on the moon.
I hear everything but that. Houston, this is Tranquility. We're standing by for a go for cabin depress, over.
Tranquility Base, this is Houston. You are go for cabin depressurization. Go for cabin depressurization.
Go, cabin depressure. Roger, thank you. Coming down. There you go. Open the hatch when we get to 0. Stage 5 clear.
Roger. And we're getting a picture on the TV.
You got a good picture, huh?
There's a great deal of contrast in it, and currently it's upside down on our monitor, but we can make out a fair amount of detail.
Okay, would you verify the position, the opening I ought to have on the camera?
Stand by. Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now.
Neil, we can see you coming. Okay, I just checked getting back up to that first step. That isn't collapsed too far, but it's adequate to get back up.
Roger, we copy.
It's a pretty good little jump.
Buzz, this is Houston. F2, 1/160th second for shadow photography on the sequence camera.
Okay. I'm at the foot of the ladder. The LEM footpads are only depressed in the surface about 1 or 2 inches, although the surface appears to be very, very fine-grained as you get close to it. It's almost like a powder. Ground mass is very fine. I'm going to step off the LEM now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Yes, the surface is fine and powdery. I can pick it up loosely with my toe. It does adhere in fine layers, like powdered charcoal, to the sole and sides of my boot. I only go in a small fraction of an inch, maybe an eighth of an inch, but I can see the footprints of my boots and the treads in the fine sandy particles.
Neil, this is Houston. We're copying.
There seems to be no difficulty in moving around as we suspected. It's even perhaps easier than the simulations of 16G that we performed in various simulations on the ground. Absolutely no trouble to walk around. The decent engine did not leave a crater of any size. It has about 1 foot clearance on the ground. We're essentially on a very level place here. I can see some evidence of rays emanating from the descent engine, but very insignificant amount. Okay, Buzz, we ready to bring down the camera?
I'm all ready. I think it's 2 miles squared away in good shape.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, you'll have to pay out all the LEC. That looks like it's coming out nice and evenly. Okay, it's quite dark here in the shadow and a little hard for me to see that I have good footing. I'll work my way over into the sunlight here without looking directly into the sun. Okay, it's taut now.
Unofficial time on the first step, 109.2420. That's the sample return containers, the rock boxes that Capcom...
Now I want to back up and partially close the hatch. Making sure not to lock it on my way out. Particularly good thought. That's our home for the next couple hours. We want to take good care of it. Okay, I'm on the top step and I can look down over the RCU and landing gear pad. It's a very simple matter to hop down from one step to the next. Yes, I found it to be very comfortable, and walking is also very comfortable. You've got 3 more steps and then a long one. Okay, I'm going to leave that 1 foot up there and both hands down to about the 4th rung up. There you go. Okay, now I think I'll do the same. A little more. About another inch. There, you got it? That's a good step. Yep. About a 3-footer. Beautiful view. Isn't that something? Magnificent sight out here. Magnificent desolation.
Both PLSS is nominal on consumables.
Looks like the secondary strut have little thermal effects on it right here, Neil. Yeah, I noticed that. Seems to be the worst, although similar effects are on all around. There is very, very fine powder, isn't it? Isn't it fine? Right in this area, I don't think there's much of any fine powder. Some clouds together, and it's hard to tell whether it's a clod or a rock. Notice how you can pick it out. Yeah, and it bounces and then... Reaching down, fairly easy. Get my suit dirty at this stage. The mass of the backpack does have some effect in inertia. There's a slight tendency I can see now to backwards. very soft texture. Oh, you're standing on a rock, big rock there now. That sure didn't. No, it didn't. Absolute no crater there at all from the engine. No. I wonder if that right under the engine is where boat might hit. I'd like that. Yeah, I think that's a good representation of our sideward velocity of touchdown. That folded the probe. I'll see that probe over on the minus Y strut. Open off and bend back up. That did, didn't it? The other two boats bent over. Can't say too much for the visibility right here without the visor up. Pretty dark. It looks like there's a surface of a flat rounded rock. And incidentally, these rocks, very powdery surface. Say again, please, Buzz. You're cutting out. And just again, please, Buzz. I say that the rocks are rather slippery. Roger. Yeah. Very powdery surface. When it's on there, it's fill up all the very little fine porises. They'll tend to slide over it rather easily.
Neil Armstrong getting ready to move the TV camera now out to its panorama position.
Traction seems quite good. Particular area. Start to lose my balance in one direction, and recovery is quite natural and very easy. And moving arms around, Jack doesn't draw off the surface. Not quite that light-footed. And I have the insulation off the Mesa now. The Mesa seems to be in good shape. You have to be careful that you're leaning in the direction you want to go, otherwise you slightly inebriate. In other words, you have to cross your foot over to stay underneath where your center of mass is. Hey Neil, didn't I say we might see some purple rocks? Find the purple rocks? Yep. Very small, sparkly fragments are the rock. They're like the sun in places. I would make a first guess at some sort of biotite. We'll leave that to the further analysis. Soil compacts underneath. Completely no. You don't sink down.
down more than a quarter of an inch. Biotite is a brown mica substance.
Okay, Houston, I'm going to change lenses on you. Roger, Neil.
Neil is now unveiling the plaque that is.
Roger, we got you bore-sighted, but back to one side.
Bore-sighted.
For those who haven't read the plaque, we'll read the plaque that's on the front landing gear of this LEM. There's two hemispheres, one showing each of the two hemispheres of Earth. Underneath it says, "Dear men from the planet Earth, first set foot upon the moon, July 1969 AD. It came in peace for all mankind." It has the crew members' signatures and the signature of the President of the United States. Ready for the camera? I'll get it.
Now you're taking TV on him.
That's the LEC there.
I'm afraid these hard materials are going to get dusty. The surface material, powdery. I don't know how good your lens is, but if you can touches above. Very much like a very finely powdered carbon, but pretty looking.
You pull out some of my cable for me, Buzz?
Houston, how close are you able to get things in focus?
This is Houston. We can see Buzz's right hand. It's somewhat out of focus. I'd say we were focusing down to probably about 8 inches to a foot behind the position of his hand when he was pulling out the cable. Roger, you look okay as far as distance goes, Neil, and we'll line you up again when you finish the panorama. You're going too fast on the panorama sweep. You're going to have to stop for...
I haven't stopped. I haven't set it down yet. That's the first picture in the panorama. Right there.
Roger.
It's taken just about northeast. Tell me if you got a picture, Houston.
Well, we've got a beautiful picture, Neil.
Okay, I'm going to move it.
Okay, there's another good one. Okay, we got that one.
Okay, Okay, now this one's right down sun, straight west. And I want to know if you can see an angular rock in the foreground.
Roger, we have a large angular rock in the foreground, and looks like a much smaller rock a couple of inches to the left of it. Over.
Right, and then on beyond it about 10 feet is an even larger rock that's very rounded. That rock is about, the closest one to you is about sticking out of the sand about 1 foot. It's about 1.5 feet long, and it's about 6 inches thick, but it's standing on edge.
Roger.
Okay, Neil, I've got the table out. Got a bag deployed.
We got this view, Neil.
Straight south.
Roger, and we see the shadow of the limb.
In the hills, Roger, the little hills just beyond the shadow of the limb is a pair of elongate craters. About probably the pair together is 40 feet long and 20 feet across, and they're probably 6 feet deep. We'll probably get some more work in there later.
Roger, and we see Buzz going about his work.
How's that for a final?
For a final orientation, we'd like it to come left about 5 degrees. Over. Back to the right about half as much.
Okay.
Okay, that looks good there, Neil.
Yeah, that looks good there, Neil. Okay.
One hour, 7 minutes time expended.
Okay, you can make a mark, Houston.
Roger, roll in.
And incidentally, you can use the shadow that the staff makes to assist you in getting it perpendicular.
Buzz is erecting the solar wind experiment now.
Some of these small depressions get soft, and you tend to think, oh, maybe 2 or 3 inches. I can see just exactly what the layer pictures showed when they pushed away a little bit. You can see force transmitted through the upper surface of the soil, and about 5 or 6 inches away, it breaks loose and moves as if it were caked on the surface, when in fact it really isn't. I noticed in the soft spots where we have footprints nearly an inch deep that the soil is very cohesive, and it will retain a slope of probably 70 degrees on the side of the footprint.
Neil Armstrong's been on the lunar surface now almost 45 minutes.
I don't have number. this is Houston reading.
Yeah, radio loud and clear. How's it going?
Roger, the EVA is progressing beautifully. I believe they're setting up the flag now.
Great.
I guess you're about the only person around that doesn't have TV coverage of the scene.
That's all right. I don't mind a bit. How is the quality of the TV?
Oh, it's beautiful, Mike. It really is.
Oh, geez, that's great. Is the lighting halfway decent?
Yes, indeed. They've got the flag up now, and you can see the stars and stripes on the lunar surface.
Beautiful, just beautiful.
If you can pull that end off a little bit. Tighten that end up a little.
It won't go up.
Okay. Neil, this is Houston radio check over.
Hi, Roger. Houston, loud and clear.
Roger out.
Loud and clear, Houston.
Roger, Buzz.
I'd like to evaluate the various paces that a person can traveling on the lunar surface. I believe I'm out of your field of view. Is that right now, Houston?
That's affirmative, Buzz. You're in our field of view now.
You do have to be. All right, you do have to be rather careful to keep track of where your center of mass is. Sometimes it takes about 2 or 3 paces to make sure that you've got your feet underneath you. maybe 4 easy paces can bring you to a fairly smooth stop. Direction. Like a football player, you just have to put out to the side, cut a little bit. So-called kangaroo hop does work, but it seems your forward stability is not quite as good as it is in the conventional, more conventional one, but after another.
Tranquility Base, this is Houston. Could we get both of you on the camera for a minute, please?
Say again, Houston?
Roger, we'd like to get both of you in the field of view of the camera for a minute. Neil and Buzz, the President of the United States is in his office now and would like to say a few words to you. Over.
That would be an honor.
Go ahead, Mr. President. This is Houston out.
Hello, Neil and Buzz. I'm talking to you by telephone from the Oval Room at the White House. And this certainly has to be the most historic telephone call ever made. I just can't tell you how proud we all are of what you... For every American, this has to be the proudest day of our lives. And for people all over the world, I am sure they too join with Americans in recognizing what an immense feat this is. Because of what you have done, the heavens have become a part of man's world. And as you talk to us from the Sea of Tranquility, it inspires us to redouble our efforts to bring peace and tranquility to Earth. For one priceless moment in the whole history of man, all the people on this earth are truly one. One in their pride in what you have done, and one in our prayers that you will return safely to Earth.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a great honor and privilege for us to be here representing not only the United States, but men of peace of all nations, and with interest and a curiosity and with a vision for the future. Honor for us to be able to participate here today.
And thank you very much, and I look forward, all of us look forward to seeing you on the Hornet on Thursday.
Look forward to that very much, sir.
Neil and Buzz, this is Houston. We'd like you to...
You're right. Where to you?
Not clear?
Not quite.
Neil, this is Houston. We'd like you all to get 2 core tubes and the solar wind experiment. 2 core tubes and the solar wind, over.
Roger.
The core tubes provide material.
Get the next one, maybe you can turn away the box a little bit.
Yeah, I'll take care of.
Well, they've already learned a great deal about the lunar surface from their own observations. Certainly the information that they bring back with them, not just the materials that come back with them, will be of inestimable value to scientists. And all the rest of us have learned a great deal about them and I guess about ourselves today.
Buzz, this is Houston. You have approximately 3 minutes until you must commence your EVA termination activities. Over.
Roger, understand.
Buzz understands, but I have the feeling he's not too enthusiastic about terminating
Columbia, this is Houston.
EVA.
Approximately 1 minute to LOS. Over. 1 minute.
Columbia, roger.
And do you plan on commencing your sleep on the backside this pass? If so, we'll disable uplink to you while we're talking to the LEM. Over.
Negative that. Houston, were you able to record in a documentary way where the two samples were taken?
Negative.
Now, I didn't get a stereo pair of those two, but they're right in the vicinity of the solar wind.
Neil, this is Houston. After you've got the core tubes and the solar wind, anything else that you can throw into the box would be acceptable.
I do. Cap was right. I got the cap. Got the cap? They're both good caps on around.